Matt Lenihan for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store at our Kings. We're here, Dave Coldwell. Dave, Moses hadn't even left the ring yet, and we're just getting your reaction to what was just, I suppose, what many people thought. Really, he's gone in there, but he's got rid of Dillian White in good fashion. There, a stunning stoppage for such a young up and coming fighter.
Absolutely devastating, stunning, spectacular. You can throw all the words you want at it. It was brutal, and this is what I feared going in. I don't like. I'm a bit. When fighters give their all to the career, and you watch them throughout the years, having wars and giving everything, like Dillian White against Chisora. You saw the action with the AJ fight. You look at him throughout all his career. He always goes out there, gives everything, as a tear up. He's exciting. He's a big character, big personality. And then when they get to a stage of the career where you feel as though it's that fight where where it's kind of like it's way too much for him, and it's gonna be quite a nasty ending for him, a nasty ending to a career. I was worried for Dillian going into that this would be that fight, and it was. I mean, that was that. You don't get as it can't be any worse than that to punctuate a career, to end a career.
Before we talk about what's potentially next for Dylan, let's talk about Moses. It's hard because we almost want to, I think, feel like we want to learn a bit more about him. And no, genuinely,
Yeah,
I wanted at least to see about 4 or 5 rounds, and maybe I
yeah.
don't want to necessarily say, "Oh, I'll get clipped with a few," because if you can move out
No,
the way,
you
great.
want
But
questions asked, don't you?
I want to see, if you get dragged into the trenches a little bit, where can we go here? But you don't ever get that far. So is that, I suppose, maybe the only thing you go? "Oh, I thought we'd have seen a bit more of him."
Yeah, that's what you want to tick boxes as a fan, as somebody who's trying to see how far this kid can go. When we get something spectacular, you want to see him have questions put in front of them, and see, like you say, can they go a few rounds? What happens? Yeah, because there's still those unanswered questions that we've got. Can he carry it on throughout the later rounds? Can his feet stay sharp? Can he, does he retain that sharpness, past 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 rounds? But so far, so good, mate. This is boxing, and you're not in there for overtime. And Moses Itauma certainly doesn't owe us any extra rounds, any extra time in fight. He wants to go out there and get rid of these guys as soon as possible, which is why he is so exciting, and which is why, for me, even before tonight, for me, he's the best prospect in world boxing. He's the certainly, and in heavyweight boxing, there's nobody around like him in terms of prospects. This kid is an unbelievable talent and an unbelievably exciting fighter, regardless of weight division. Is the excite? It brings pure excitement, that expectation. That, do you know, when I know people keep going about Mike Tyson. I only mean it in the respect of the, with Tyson, it was all, when he was coming through, it was like, how quick this is going to be, how quick is it going to be, and you're waiting for that spectacular knockout, you're waiting for that one shot to land and detonate. We've not had many fighters since that, and then I think Tank Davis, when he was the kind of the guy that we had that same sort of expectation and that excitement for when he was fighting. Moses Itauma is the one now. He's the guy that out of all of boxing, you waiting for that explosion. He is a special talent and prospect.
What's the right move for him next? Obviously, you look around. Usyk needs a fight. I can't think it would be him, but I think Turkey did mention it. But what is the right fight, do you think, for Moses Itauma next? What will be the next? What will be the next move?
I know they're talking about the Usyk fight, but Usyk's a different fighter. Um, uh, so I don't think he's ready for Usyk yet. Don't get me wrong. In those first few rounds, he can go out there and he could get rid of anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But if he doesn't get rid of Usyk after the first few rounds, with what Usyk does and what he has in his arsenal, that's where I think the lack of rounds, lack of experience, question
Mm-hmm.
marks maybe might come out. I think that's where you're getting a little bit too carried away with this outstanding prospect. I think there are fights out there where it would be more sensible, but still testing, still good marquee fights for him. You know, the problem is he's that good, and the problem is the guys.
Yeah.
Say for instance, the domestic level fighters that are also trying to get on the world scene. They're not going to want to fight this kid. You know, everybody knows. Everyone knows the stories about him in sparring and how good he's been since a young kid. Nobody's going to want to fight him domestically.
No.
So you are literally having to look at the world level. Yeah, the top 10, top 15 in the world. Get him those guys, but not Usyk yet. And I think Usyk, well, there's definitely going to be a belt, if not all the belts if he retires, that are going to become vacant. And him against anybody else, why not? Why not pick up a vacant world title shot? You know, there are good fighters out there. There's your Parkers, there's your Cabiels. Well, do you know what? Him and Jack, I think he'd blast him out of the water, but a nice one for like to for America maybe is Jared Anderson. People like that. He's still a prospect. He's still a 20-year-old kid. I know he's good enough and he's got the tools, but like you say, let's get a few rounds under his belt. But listen, if he keeps banging them
Exciting.
out, what can you do? There's only so long that can hold him back if he keeps banging them out like that.
Absolutely. The flip side to that, look, Dillian White's he's given us some great nights. You know, he's never had that
Yeah.
official tag of the world champion, but he's had an interesting career, the ups, the downs, I suppose, the controversies. But I suppose all in all, it's been an exciting ride, hasn't it, watching Dillian over the years?
Oh, listen, he's been part of the domestic heavyweight scene while it was like it flowing and flying. You know, all the names that he's fought, the excitement that he's given. You know, we've had some great entertainment with Dillian White, controversy as well. He's had ups and downs, but one thing you got to remember with Dillian is whether you're a fan of his or not, and whether there's clouds over his career or not. What you got to remember is this guy didn't come through the amateur system. He didn't have the big build up turning pro. He was boxing on a little show. I remember years and years back, there was a conversation if I could put him on one of my shows, but I couldn't back then. I couldn't afford that. I didn't have the budget to be able to put Dillian White on my shows. But he's done that, having to box on little small shows, come fight his way through, and then he got an opportunity, and then he ran with it. And you know, he grew and he became one of the biggest names in domestic boxing and in the world. So he's had an unbelievable career. I like Dillian. I've always got on with Dillian, and he's always been great with me. So for me to see that, and that is what I was worried about, and that was what I could see happening. I said, you know, we were talking about it in the gym with the lads. I just couldn't see how we could handle the speed of foot from Itauma, and then the power and the speed of hands. And don't forget, he's a southpaw as well, so he's got that to cope with. Straight from round one, Dillian shapes up nice.
Yeah.
But he couldn't get a range, and then Itauma was springing in sharp with those fast feet and landing that backhand straight to the chest, and then he's in range for the shot that hits him on the top of the head. But his finishing skills was calm, collected, but vicious and varied, and it was outstanding performance from Moses, and sad to see Dillian go out like that. But I will say, he took the fight knowing the history that he's had recently, the performances that he's had going into it. You know, he hasn't looked great going into there on recent form, inactivity. I said going into it, when you're going in inactive and you're at that age, going in against somebody with the assets that Moses Itauma's got, that is such a mountain to climb, and it proves so. So you know, it's sad, but it was kind of like the writing was on the wall.
Well, Dave, we've literally jumped on this call before the fight has even finished post-fight interview, so appreciate it's late. Thanks for giving your reaction to it, and we'll catch up and see what's to come in this interesting saga with Moses Itauma. But it's going to be a good ride. Appreciate your time, bud.
Cheers, mate. Nice one.
Thank you.